Right, so yeah, basically I just wanted to have a chat about our end of year report. How would you describe your experience over the past year at ECSA? So we'll start off with Victoria.
I don't know. I would say this year was unexpected, to say the least. Like, I think when we were getting into this role, we didn't think it was going to be anything like this. So that has been challenging, but it has been a really good year. I think we've been flung in at the deep end, and our learning curve that we've taken and the way that we've all overcome it has been wonderful. The students also, I feel the way that they've overcome everything has been quite spectacular. I take my non-existent hat off to them all. They've done really, really well this year. So yeah, it's taught us that there's a lot in us all, and we can all kind of, there's a lot more in us than we think there is. We can overcome a lot of things. So yeah, I would say that's my sum up of the year.
Brilliant. What about you, Rose? How have you found the past year at ECSA?
Yeah, I mean, it's been challenging, the fact that we've all had to work from home, just as the students have had to also study from home. But I've also think it's perhaps improved my communication skills, or at least it's made me think differently about how to communicate. The way we've had to like take it in turns, for example, to chat in a video call, because otherwise we're going to be cutting each other off. We still do a bit of that, but I've tried to be a bit better and a bit more patient to wait my turn and then speak. And then obviously you can always mute me if I talk for too long. But yeah, it's been great to see that even, I feel for a lot of students that have had their practical courses. That's obviously been really challenging, but I've also been really impressed by the way Edinburgh College has tried to keep everyone safe by keeping them at home and always constantly working towards trying to get the students on practical courses back when the rules allowed them to, so that hopefully the vast majority of students will be able to move on to their next stage of their lives, whether it's continuing studying or going to the place of work. So yeah, that's been really great to see, and it's nice hearing from students now who've messaged me to say, oh, I got the grade that I need to get into uni.
Yeah,
that's been lovely to hear that now.
yeah, brilliant. Okay, what about you then, Jordan? How would you describe your experience of the past year at ECSA?
I'd say Victoria and Rose have pretty well summed up a lot of things. I just add on, it wasn't much of a learning curve at the start of the year. It was more like a shuttle launch into orbit, not just for students, but for staff, for everybody in the country. And this year's always got to stand out. But this will be the year that I know a lot of us are going to point back to 5-10 years down the time. And if we're ever feeling like, oh, can we do this, or we're having to make a big change, we're all going to point back to this year and go, we all overcame the pandemic, the restrictions, the constant upheaval and changing of plans. And I tip my hat to everybody. Not just the students who have had the steep learning curve, not being able to come in and do practical, but it's also amazing the fact that they're turning up to tests, getting the qualifications, going on to the next course or to university. Also, the college have been amazing for being able to facilitate that and being agile the entire time. But also at a national level, I feel I don't have a previous year to go off of. I only know from talks with yourself, Al, and other people at ECSA. This year, student officers, in a weird way, as much as we've not been able to meet face to face, we've actually been able to come together in a much closer knit way. We're all having similar issues. Some of us are a bit ahead of the curve, some of us are a bit lagging behind, but we're not all running at our own paces anymore. We're all running at the same pace with each other.
It's interesting because I was thinking about the tagline and like a year like no other. It is a year like no other, but actually for you guys, this is all you've ever known. But how do you feel like, looking back at how we've dealt with them as a student association, as a representative body, how we've kind of dealt with those things?
We broke new ground. We have literally trying to resolve these issues. We have gone into uncharted territory for the Students Association. As you well know, Al, we've gone to many new different committees. We've been engaged in national conversations that we haven't had before. just pointing to Sparks, SQA, Scottish Funding Council consultations, we have done amazing to respond to things. Now, we haven't got every single thing perfect every single time at every single point throughout the year. There have been some issues that have taken a little longer to get resolved, but that's been out of our control completely. And not just our control, that's been out of the college's control.
I think we need to big up Graham Smith for things like the virtual campus, or the ECSA staff and whole, in terms of communicating with students, you know, of thinking outside the box in terms of how to use technology to reach out to the students, such as the virtual campus, or organising a live stream for Audrey to come and update the students on the Facebook virtual campus. So yeah, I'm just going to give Graham a thumbs up, because I know he's doing a lot of the technology and IT side of it.
I was also going to big up Heidi, because the class reps and her, we've been reactive, but we've also been very proactive. And Heidi with the class rep conferences and getting those all online and increasing the engagement the way she did, so that we have more of a feel for what the students are getting up to and what they need and what they want, and they have that direct line with us, has been so beneficial this year. And I think for the students as well, because we've seen massive increases in the numbers and the actual cooperation with what we're doing. So I think, big up Heidi as well.
I was going to say we've got about 4 pages of the report dedicated to advice and support, and maybe members of the board aren't aware of the fact that we actually only have one member of staff who's responsible for almost all of that, and you know, a 2,000% increase in funding cases, and that has actually been Sam who's been dealing with that. So absolutely, the staff team have been working their socks off this year.
I can't say it loud enough. I am so impressed that they've managed to continue swap shop through all the chaos that's going on, the constant restrictions, being able to not only, this is a new project for them. A year ago, they weren't doing swap shop. So for the fact that they've established a swap shop, adjusted it to restrictions, made it online and be able to access and book in, and still make it work, collect donations. Honestly, you've got to really look around and see how many projects this year have maybe got CCF funding, or how many projects have got funding and they've gone, oh, well, restrictions have meant we can't do this. That's it. It's not happening. But yet, Claire, through 2 members of staff coming and going, has managed to not only do swap shop, but then she's also been able to get a class time in, speak to the students, increase engagement through that way. And I don't have anything to go off from last year, but from what I'm hearing, what I've read, we've had an increase in engagement from the Go Green team as well. So
I think we'll name drop them all. We had Alex at the start of the year, we had Grace in the middle of the year, and now we have Izzy as well, who've been joining with Claire on the Go Green project. And I think probably this thing, Microsoft Teams, that we're sitting in at the minute, this has given us great access to classes to be able to do a lot more climate education stuff. So that's been incredible.
Well, I think, touching on what John said, that we've been able to be more involved perhaps with NUS, the fact that we've been online and we've had regular meetings with them, which has meant we've been able to, you know, really look at doing national campaigns and looking at problems from a national level with them.
And can't stress the importance of the virtual campus, because the virtual campus this year hasn't just meant that we've been able to see conversations or tell students things. We've been able to see the conversations that are going on between students, their concerns. And when we see a large gathering, there have been a few times this year where we've had hundreds of students saying there's this same problem, and we've been able to take that straight to NUS, go, look, here's some unfiltered evidence, this is student concern. And then about 3 weeks later, it becomes a national issue. It's given us the time to sit, work, what's in students' best interests, and then actually find workarounds. That's time that is so important this year, and I don't think in any other year without the virtual campus we'd have been able to achieve that.
And then on to something completely different, another highlight from this year. was for me, was the Black History Month things that we got to do. So our live stream with Ethelinda and with Kimberly, and our month of content and all of our positive recommendations on media. And at a time this year, the Black Lives Matter movement was very in everyone's eyes, and the fact that we didn't just speak about inclusivity events, we got to actually put some on, and we got to actually do things for the students. I found it was great to have those conversations when we wouldn't have necessarily had a space for them. So yeah, that's another
Absolutely.
highlight of mine from this year.